Hey, I'm Michael, and welcome to the Anchored Mind podcast, where we are redefining care by combining counseling, nutrition, and fitness so that you can live a better life. And today, I'd love to introduce you to Chris Boyle, who is a professional counselor, and he specializes in men's issues, addiction, and all kinds of other fun stuff that I'll let him tell you about.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
Glad to be here. Yeah, so I work a lot with men and particularly in addiction and trauma world. I think those two go hand in hand. We can dive right in there.
Yeah, I'm already kind of curious. What makes you say that?
Yeah. So a mentor of mine and friend of mine has always introduced it to me as this understanding what makes you susceptible to addiction. And we kind of took the ACEs assessment that's kind of used in our world a lot, which is adverse childhood experiences, that asks a bunch of questions on physical, sexual, and emotional.
Back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so with that, he kind of has always spoken from this framework of there's three things that make you susceptible to addiction. And that's a presence of childhood trauma, a lack of secure attachment to caregivers, and a lack of coping skills. And so if those are the three things that kind of make you susceptible to addiction, then those are the things that we need to look at when we're coming into a room like this or stepping into a higher level of care. And so with that, a lot of times, we're trying to get you plugged in, whether that's a men's group of some kind like we offer here at Anchored Mind, or an AA meeting, or just some sort of group to get out and have good, authentic connection, which, I mean, as we know, like men are lacking a lot in these days.
Yeah, regardless of adverse child experiences or not, right?
Yeah.
I am curious. So, what do you think is, and there may be multiple, kind of the underlying question a man is left with if he were to grow up in the way that this ACEs assessment speaks to?
Yeah. I think that a lot of it leads to a kind of trying to find your place in a lot of different worlds.
Yeah.
And so, I also love a TED talk of from Johan Hari, where he talks about this experiment that was done with a place called Rat Park. And basically what the researchers found was they put a bunch of rats in a cage and they gave them nothing but they gave cocaine laced water and then a regular water. And when they were alone, they went for the
Sounds like
cocaine
a
laced
party.
water and died every single time. But then they
Jeez.
created a place called Rat Park. And in Rat Park, they had tons of cheese, they had tons of friends, they had tons of all these different things. They had the cocaine water and the regular water, and they went for the regular water every time. No
Wow.
overdoses, no deaths. And
Need to medicate.
yeah. And so a lot of times, I think like there's this stigma around addiction. Like, I can't believe you're using drugs. I can't believe that you're, drinking so much. Like, I think that like in that Johan Hari kind of talks about the opposite of addiction is connection
Mhm.
after all. And so I think like, and I've read lots of different things and it all points back to relationships and connection,
Mhm.
right? A lot of times we talk about it as like a relational disorder addiction. And so trying to like growing up in an environment where you'd have a higher ACEs score than some of your friends puts you into this league of trying to find your place.
Mhm.
It's being at a party and feeling all alone. It's going somewhere and feeling like you're the only one in the room, that no one, you can't relate to anyone. And
Yeah, feeling other. Even the party example reminds me of conversations I've had with guys in the counseling room, and they may have this perspective that they're that guy at the party in the corner, no one wants to talk to me. And then the little mental experiment of, cool, so what do you look like, you think, to the other people who see you against the wall, not talking to anyone? And it is just fun to kind of show that comparison of perspective, because it's really, if I don't show up in community to expose who I am, I'm never really going to know who I am.
yeah,
And if I don't know who I am, I also am low risk to put myself in a community, right?
yeah, yeah. And I love even taking it like community to a step forward, kind of like the environment we've created with Anchored Men is, we have community. You can live like we live in a community of Roswell, right?
Yeah.
Like taking
It's kind of like a bubble.
Yeah, and, like, taking that a step further into, I have lots of friends, like we like to call it camaraderie. Like camaraderie, it's that next
Love
step.
that word. Yeah.
It is like holding, like you have someone that knows your in and outs of what's going on in your world, someone to like cheer for you in successes, someone to hold you accountable in your like missteps. But at the end of the day, they're there backing you.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like the male experience too in that is, oh well, I show up to, like I've got buddies I play golf with, I play like softball over here, and I've got this over here. It's like, but really, are you truly known in any of those areas?
Right.
Or are you showing up and just kind of being off in the corner?
We like doing the same stuff though.
Yeah.
So that's all I need, right?
That's the only connection that matters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think too, like even like all the men that I feel like we sit with, a lot of times it just becomes this like something's missing. And we
Yeah.
can't put our finger on it. Whether it doesn't have to be someone that's struggling with addiction. It can be any sort of thing. It's something. It's leaving something to be desired
Yeah.
for.
Especially if a guy hasn't had the exposure or experience, whether it's modeling or even just him having the right people around him to go deeper and to really understand beyond what I do, answering that question, who am I?
Yeah.
On a deeper level. You're right. So how do we fix trauma?
That's something I wanted to get into as well, is kind of going back to what I said with addiction and trauma being so related.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things I learned in grad school was people make sense. And with addiction, going back to kind of the statement I made about, there's all this stigma around addiction. I can't believe that someone's doing that. Like, oh, you're drinking that much, and oh, look at him, he's blacked out and is sleeping on the side of the street, or all these things. Like,
just focused on the behavior.
Yeah.
Nothing
When it's
else.
like, okay, let's take a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Let's maybe look into, hey, what was growing up for you like? Were every little mistake, was it magnified by a yelling parent? Or was it met with grace and love and affirmation and a gentle nudge or a redirect? What were relationships like? What was there any presence of childhood, like physical, sexual, emotional abuse? And so, of course, you went for a bottle of whiskey to numb out those feelings. It's adaptive. Addiction is one of the most like an addiction is one of the most adaptive skills for people. It saves people's lives a lot of times because it is the emotional and mental turmoil that they're facing, having this that can take me away from that when I don't feel anything. Of course you're going to reach for that.
Just like the rats with the cocaine, when they're isolated, they're medicating loneliness, they're medicating not knowing what is my rat identity? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, and like taking it into the trauma lens as well, it becomes with the fight, flight, freeze, fawn of how are you showing up when those cortisol levels are jacking straight up into the air.
Yeah, what's happening to me?
What's happening, right? And so then like we can get into talking about like people pleasing behavior and all these different things where that's adaptive too.
I'm preventing whatever happened externally that made me freak out internally. I'm preventing that from happening.
Yeah. And so, and in our relationships, we show up in those ways because that's the adaptive way that we have found has been safest for us.
How we've been trained or conditioned.
Whether that's, oversharing and overcommitting into relationships or undersharing and undercommitting to relationships.
Yeah.
We find this balance that works the best for us in those moments because that's what helped us get through it.
Yeah. I think the hardest part too is it can be relationship dependent, right? It can change. So it's kind of like surfing. You're trying to find your balance point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I guess that's why we have jobs.
Yeah, maybe a little job security.
As we're still figuring it out too.
Yeah, absolutely.
For men too.
Oh, absolutely. Which I think like that's what's some of the most fun of this job too, is that, we try to practice what we preach.
Totally.
We try to, we do our own work and
we participate in groups.
We participate in groups. We try to take care of our bodies. We try to put good, clean foods into our bodies. And through that, it's, I think it means a lot more when I'm sitting with someone with my own background and going through addiction recovery and being like, yeah, I get it. That is, and hopefully that helps them too, to feel more grounded in the space of, not sitting across someone who has no idea what that experience is like.
Textbook.
Yeah. And it makes it, I'm passionate about it. I love I love the work, and I love it's not completely outcomes based. It's okay, you know, I I got sober in a very black and white, rigid, like, abstinence-based program. I did AA and all these different things, and, like, for a while, that was, like, this is recovery, right? Like, recovery is,
This is the
like,
path.
how long has it been since your last drink or drug? And I think, like,
What's that saying you said you shared with me? I'm sober today.
yeah,
Yeah.
for today only.
Yeah.
I will always be an alcoholic. I'll always be a drug addict.
Hmm.
And so with that, I think like there's things that shift, right?
Yeah.
And so recovery for me may not look like recovery for you. And I think like there's a broader world where that's okay. And instead of it being a one treatment fits all or one size fits all approach for men that are coming in where it's, maybe, hit the hit the bottle too hard this past week and now I'm feeling shame and guilt. Well, let's figure out like what you're feeling shame and guilt about. And let's figure out what you're running from
Yeah. What that
in this.
misalignment is.
Yeah, and, getting sober at such a young age for me, at 20 years old, was comes with all these questions from friends, in college, they have the couple nights where they drink too much, and they come to ask me for questions, which I never thought I'd be receiving before I became a counselor of, "How do you drink less? How do you do this?" And, my answer is always, "If I knew the answer to that, then I wouldn't be in recovery or sober for several
Mm,
years."
it's humble.
But I think, like, if I ever offered anything to them, I'd be curious to know if when that urge comes up or that thought comes up of, "Man, I really want/need a
Hmm.
drink or want or need a fix," it's what's going on in that moment. Like, what is happening in your body in that moment? What's going on in your mind in that moment? A lot of times we're trying to escape something, and so, really, it's not about I drank. It's about what that 5 minutes beforehand.
The context,
The
like you were saying, the
context.
guy under the bridge kind of thing. What's the story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
and so figuring like, journaling out I talk to a lot of my guys about journaling and how much, like, the knowledge of the beforehand or peeking behind the curtain can help us is, "Whoa, well, I was feeling anxious, and I don't know how to deal with anxiety, so I just go for a drink." It's like because that makes the nerves go away, and that makes, liquid courage, whatever you wanna call it. It's like, "Okay, that makes sense. So let's work through some different strategies on how to deal with anxiety instead of just reaching for a bottle or reaching
yeah.
for a drink."
Kind of, I don't mean to prompt a rabbit trail and stop me if I do, but it makes me think of the pace of our society now. And a lot of what we want is often within reach or at the press of a button. Work culture, even, is increasingly all about efficiency, especially with AI being part of our world now. And so, how fast and great can you get something done? And I think that pacing comes into the play, with how we medicate, with how we deal with difficult emotions. Because let's be real, emotions are weak and they do slow us down, and they're the necessity of connection.
Mhm.
So if we are perpetually disconnected from ourselves by staying busy, by continuing to fill all of our time and calendar, I think your point on journaling is great because it's a prompt to slow down and create that space, right?
Yeah. Which and I think I'll just go on a limb and say most of all grounding techniques are meant to slow. It is
Totally.
slow the system,
Yeah.
slow your breathing, check in on yourself, and
Everything's
it's
okay. You're not
ve
dying.
yeah, and so, like, having things like that in a world that's so faster, faster, faster,
Yeah.
quicker, quicker, quicker,
And
more
you're
efficient,
and
more
you're
efficient.
failing. What does it
Yeah,
say about you? You're
yeah,
failing if you're not going fast,
yeah.
right?
And so, like, we live in this world where that's kind of the motive that's pushed and instant gratification. Oh, I've got dopamine hit right at the reach out and pull it out of my pocket. And it's, you know, I'm searching, searching, searching for that
Yeah,
because we find comfort, we find solace, we find like that little pocket of, and that's what people
totally.
are looking for. But that is artificial dopamine
Hmm.
instead of the, like, natural dopamine that we can get through maybe a journaling exercise or maybe a breathing exercise or maybe going for a walk or sitting with ourselves for 5 minutes.
Hanging with a friend, slowing
Mhm.
down. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
making
mean,
a
I mean,
plan.
I'll be real too. Like we're sitting here as mental health professionals on a podcast talking about, some awesome stuff, but we are speaking as if it doesn't apply to us or that we've somehow figured it out or conquered it. And I'm feeling convicted this moment, even because last night. I'm up working late. I'm breaking my own rules. I got my laptop in bed, trying to get some stuff done, and then waking up super early, which at least that was kind of a win. But lack of sleep and, my nutrition hasn't been great today, and so I already know, okay, I'm compromised. And I think the point in which what we're saying in a lot of this is it's not like you're ever gonna reach this destination of perfection. The point is we're operating from a place of awareness, and that even when we make decisions like I made, I'm gonna be aware of the costs, and I'm gonna be able to bounce back, and I'm not gonna let this, like you said, accumulate, build up, and then break me at some point or negatively impact my relationships or burn me out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those, like, I always like to use, like a bank account analogy,
Oh, yeah.
especially
That's
with
good.
especially working with men, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It
Love
is like a bank account that you have to make deposits to.
Yeah.
And that's we'll just call that your well-being. We can use it for like your recovery, your sobriety, your just like your like you said, like worked late, woke up a little groggy. So I know I'm running on reserve. So maybe our bank account balance is a little lower than we usually hold it.
Mhm.
We have to go through a whole day, and throughout our day, we're taking deposits out. When that number hits red, that's a like check engine light comes on of,
Yeah.
hey, you get that notification, your balance is under zero,
Check in.
you're in the negative. What do you do?
Mhm.
And that's when it's like, reaching for a drink or reaching for
What's
a
my
fix
overdraft
is
protection?
that like, okay, like we do that, which like it's like putting gasoline on a fire,
Yeah.
right? A
Yeah.
lot of times for a lot of
It's like you
guys.
said earlier, it's just gonna activate guilt and shame, right,
Yeah.
on the other side.
Yeah.
That's true. Good.
And so it's one of those like
What a cycle.
being
Jeez.
able to zoom out even just a little bit to have more information for what is going on. Well, because like I said earlier, people make sense. It's like, yeah, no wonder you blew your lid at your child. Like you got no sleep, your nutrition has been off. You're like you maybe had a couple too many to drink the night before and you like maybe you track your sleep and your
Mhm.
number was horrid,
Yeah.
Like
Lifestyle, but even deeper, you touched on this earlier, is do I even know who I am? Is if I don't, I'm probably compensating my identity through a measurement of success, performance, achievement. And what's going to happen when something blows up at work?
yeah.
When there's any type of regression, all of a sudden my identity crumbles, and then I crumble, and then everything else around me crumbles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary.
Which I guess we can segue into this now too, is like kind of the group aspects of why, like, I think we've had so much joy in running Anchored Men.
Yeah.
I guess like I'll talk about one of the groups we ran that just kind of naturally segued into guys speaking into what they saw in each other. Being there and it just kind of naturally segueing into guys talking to each other and speaking into them what their experiences
Oh,
been.
yeah. Totally.
And that being like, wow, like where do you get that?
It's
Like
powerful.
where
At a funeral,
where else?
retirement party.
Yeah, yeah, right? Like those are the only times where like men are actually spoken life into,
Totally.
given compliments, maybe given a pat on the back or something like that. Like, wow, like we get to
Mhm.
orchestrate these areas where men can truly show up.
Yeah.
And there's guys, it's scary at first, of course,
Yeah.
because it's living life without a mask on. It's showing up
It's
and
new, it's
yeah,
uncomfortable. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's not weird.
No,
That's what's cool.
no,
Yeah. We make it not weird.
we try to.
If it's weird, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I love that. Yeah, that was for sure one of my favorite parts of our group, and I think it even came about pretty organically, which made it even better. It's like now that we have this time, having a decent sense of who we are, to your point, being exposed to one another through just week to week, what's going on in your life? How is your subjective experience around your life? What do you want? What do you desire? And forcing these guys to kind of slow down, including us, forcing us to slow down and really asking some of these questions. I think it really helps you take stock about what's ultimately the most important. And then those values and priorities start to make the other problems before these guys started a group just a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Not that they go away, it doesn't fix anything, but it kind of recategorizes and reprioritizes things and just makes the purpose of life a little clearer, which the spoiler alert of the end of the movie is the guys hopefully recognize that the most important thing in life are our relationships.
Yeah. And it's funny, we we set the last iteration of the in the spring of group, we kinda split it up into our 3 categories, and we had relationships and intimacy at the end,
Yeah,
and it's funny how throughout since week 1, it's relationships keeps popping up.
it does. Yeah,
It's
can't deny it.
every session, individual session, like, we can be off to the side, but it all comes back to our relationships,
Yeah,
and who is pouring into us, who are we pouring into, and who are we doing life with and walking alongside.
love it.
I mean, with that, I mean, it's a perfect recipe, I think.
That would make me wanna drink water.
Wonderful.
Totally. Well, thanks, Chris, for taking this time just to have a conversation around men and all the complexities of us and what makes us tick, and what makes us struggle.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And if so, or if not, please leave a comment. We love the feedback. It helps us develop better content for you. Give us a follow. Feel free to share. And we look forward to the next episode with you. Thanks so much.